Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
Just kind of threw me into a fit.
We're learning that some people are getting a stimulus check even though they've passed away. If one was set to a dead relative, should you keep it or send it back to the federal government? Valley News Team's Joshua Pagaro details what your options are, and if spending the money isn't yours, will it result in a penalty?
There are dozens of stories popping up of deceased people getting stimulus checks. Sherry Blaine of Frazee is one. Blaine says her mom, who died last year, got a check on Monday.
It just irritated me to no end because it is just so wasteful.
The letter has a box on the envelope that says to send it back if the person is deceased, which Blaine plans to do.
The idea of a federal government printing these checks, sending them in the mail, when they obviously, on record, somewhere know that she is deceased.
Blaine says she's worried that we as a country are racking up so much debt.
My grandchildren and great-grandchildren are going to be paying for this ridiculous mess up.
Minnesota Senator Tina Smith responded to Blaine, saying her office has received conflicting reports on how this would be handled by the Internal Revenue Service. If you notice that money was deposited in a dead relative's checking or savings account, a tax expert says you should hold on to the money until the IRS issues guidelines.
Just hold on to it for now.
Arrow Advisor says no one knows if you have to pay it back if you spend it.
It's kind of more of an ethics issue, really. You know, I don't think it was the legislative intent of the program to get checks out to deceased people. So really, you got to almost think of it as a clerical error.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin told the Wall Street Journal people should return the checks of dead relatives. President Donald Trump echoed the same thing. Part of the reason dead people got these checks in the first place is it would have taken the IRS longer to send out the emergency funds if they had to remove these people. In Fargo, Joshua Pagaro, Valley News Live.
The Internal Revenue Service says it has issued payments to 88 million individuals so far, worth about $158 billion in the program's first 3 weeks. If you need help with an issue in your community, call our whistleblower hotline. We'll do our best to get to the bottom of it. Call the number on your screen right now, 701-237-6576, and leave your tip. Hutch told us yesterday that right now would likely be the best part of Wednesday. I'd say he's spot on. Let's take it to his house now, where he's social distancing for a first alert look at tonight's weather planner. Hutch?
Thanks so much, Mike. I got to tell you, looking out the window, it is so awesome outside. I had that feeling like I was, in school looking outside. This time of year, we are really starting to really crave those sunny days. And that's what we have. No clouds near us, a few high clouds and fair weather cumulus clouds across the region. 60s for our entire area, but just off to the west in western North Dakota and eastern Montana, we have some 70s, and that's on its way. But for tonight, the wind that we've been dealing with is still a little on the breezy side. It'll be tapering off as temperatures slip into the 50s for most of our evening, Mike. Still beautiful conditions in Grand Forks as well. A cool overnight, but even warmer weather for your Thursday. I'll have those late week warm-up details in one moment.
Sounds good. Look forward to it. Thanks. The number of people who have tested positive for COVID-19 in North Dakota has now surpassed 1,000. State health officials say there are 42 new cases today, bringing the total to 1,033. Today's new numbers include 20 in Cass County, 16 in Grand Forks County. The number of deaths attributed to the coronavirus in North Dakota remains at 19. Governor Doug Burgum's next big executive order is coming tomorrow, but he touched on what it might entail today. The governor says it will require sports facilities and concert venues, places with large gatherings, to remain closed until further notice. He specifically mentioned the Fargo Dome, Bismarck Civic Center, and gatherings at college campuses.
We're trying to avoid having the really large gatherings as we dial back up the amount of interaction and potential spread and potential risk, to dial that up in a slower way.
The governor also hopes to talk this Friday regarding schools and distance learning. He says he's been gathering input from school leaders in the state on what to do with the rest of the school year. Minnesota has 18 more deaths and 463 new positive cases. The death toll now stands at 319. The number of cases, 4,644. Today's numbers reflect a push to ramp up testing across Minnesota, with the largest single-day increase in both cases and tests since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. State health officials say about 2,900 people were tested with or for the coronavirus in the past day, bringing the total of tests administered in the state and private labs to 66,744. Bond was set today at $1 million for a Barnesville woman accused of killing a foster child in her care. 35-year-old Kelly Anderson is charged with second-degree murder. Authorities say the child was lifeless and bruised when he was brought to a Fargo emergency room last week. KFGO News is reporting that bond for Anderson's release from jail was set at $1 million without conditions, or $500,000 with conditions. Antibody testing will soon be available at Sanford Health locations in Fargo to help determine how many people have already been infected by COVID-19. Experts say right now testing is only for those who feel like they were sick with the virus but couldn't get tested, as well as anyone who was directly exposed to an infected person. But experts warn that they're not out of the woods yet if your test comes back positive. Meanwhile, in other news regarding this particular story, Sanford Health says the antibody testing will begin at their facilities next week, but have not yet set a specific date. With North Dakota planning to reopen on Friday, businesses in downtown Fargo are talking about what's next. Many of them say they don't plan to open their doors for a few weeks in fear of spreading COVID-19. Several businesses say customers will be required to wear masks and will only be taking reservations. Some businesses tell us that they've ordered laser thermometers just in case. On the national scene, President Donald Trump is ordering meat processing plants to stay open during the coronavirus pandemic. The executive order uses the Defense Production Act to classify meat processing as critical infrastructure. The order will keep plants open and prevent a shortage of meat on supermarket shelves. The United Food and Commercial Workers International Union says 20 union workers in the U.S. have died from COVID-19. They believe the country can't have a secure food supply unless workers are safe. The Great Plains Food Bank in Fargo received a sizable donation at a time when the need is great. More than 37,000 pounds of potatoes were donated today. These potatoes were intended for restaurants, but with restaurants closed due to the pandemic, they gave rather than prevented giving to waste. Great Plains Food Bank says that they've seen a 30% increase in food demand at their partner pantries.
Before COVID hit, we were serving 1 in 8 individuals, and we just ran some numbers last night, and our food pantries are reporting a 44% increase, and at our mobile food pantry distribution, we've seen 79% increase.
And while demand is up, the food bank says it's seeing a decline in donations as stores are giving less and people are holding on to food during these economic times. Mother's Day is around the corner. You'll need to start making purchases now because of the pandemic. Don't worry, Rachel DePompa has the story for us on what you can do to go shopping. Well, I guess we don't have that particular story, but moving on, Costco is now implementing some new policies regarding shoppers. You'll have to wear a face mask to shop inside the store. The only exceptions are children under the age of 2 or those unable to wear a mask because of a medical condition. You can also only have 2 people in the store for each membership card. Later on Valley News Live at 6, being stuck inside during the coronavirus pandemic can give you time to catch up on some projects. We see how one man is connecting with his father's past.
Beautiful conditions for your evening on this hump day. We've made it over the hump, warmer weather on the way. Today's temperatures topped out in the 60s here in Fargo and in Grand Forks, but a few of us may see 70s. I'll have that and some video you have to see coming up next.